Welcome to Business Success Tips, where you can learn to make more money in less time and have more fun, especially the more fun part. I'm the founder of Contractor Staffing Source. We help contractors build great teams. I have as my guest this morning somebody from NotaryLive, which is Joshua Stankard. What does NotaryLive do? I'm just curious, Joshua.
So NotaryLive is a remote online notary platform, and thanks for having me, by the way. It allows you to notarize documents online with from the comfort of your home, from the comfort of a job site, wherever you may be, 24/7.
So how does it even work?
So essentially, the same way that you would in a traditional sense. The only difference is you're online as opposed to in person. There are a couple of different additional steps you have to take for compliance reasons, legal reasons. To begin with, you give us the document that you're being notarized or that's being notarized. You supply your ID and answer a few security questions regarding your identity. Assuming you pass both those steps, you then enter a lobby and wait for a notary to connect. We have
Is it like a real person or an AI or who's because usually I did notarize stuff when I did real estate, we'd have to go to the bank, you'd have to wait in line at the bank, and then you get somebody at the bank who would notarize it. And sometimes the notary's there, they'd be there like 4 hours a week or something, and they had to even, it was really a pain in the butt, very difficult thing to do. So explain to me, because a lot of contractors have to notarize various contracts and real estate deals and that kind of thing. So sort of give me the step-by-step how you do this and how much it costs, because it is certainly an interesting service.
Yeah, so the pricing starts at $25 per, and the concept is really the same as what you would have in traditional. The only difference is you're meeting with a person through a Zoom call or a video chat. Because it's being done online, there are additional security standards that have to be met. But that's something that we do on our side. So really all you do is upload your ID and the document, and you meet with the notary virtually. They stamp the document virtually. The notary has to have a additional level of notarization licensing. So it's additional, it's not, you can't just be a RON if you're a notary. You have to also be a traditional notary and then take an additional certification to become a RON. And then once you've done
What is
that,
a RON?
RON is a remote online notary.
Okay.
Yeah, so once you've done that, then like I said, from the user's perspective, from the signer's perspective, it's the same process as what it would be in traditionally. You're just doing it from your phone or doing it from a laptop or whatever the case may be, just some sort of device that's
Does it have to be a Zoom call? Do you have to see the person, or can you do it from a phone?
We have our own video technology. It's not through Zoom, but Zoom is a good way to kind of relate to it. But it is a video chat. So when you enter NotaryLive, you go through the security check that I was mentioning, and then you will actually video connect with imagine a DocuSign or some sort of electronic signature platform, but with a video piece instead. That's basically all it is. You just
So you get them on your phone video or your computer video, right? Like
correct.
FaceTime
Yeah.
or whatever, something like that.
Exactly. So you have that FaceTime connection, but then also you have the document that you're being notarized, as your primary view, and then a smaller window of your notary, and then you just interact with them just as you would through a traditional sense.
Like how many notaries do you have? Just curious.
Thousands. Yeah, the notary world is robust. So we have, I think, the last I checked was about 4,500 different notaries in our system right now, and all across the country.
So this is 24/7, right?
It is 24/7, including holidays. Yeah. Yep. And anywhere in the world too, that you could be in, you might have just happened to be in China for whatever reason and need to get a document notarized. You can do that as well. It doesn't matter where the signer is located. It only matters where the notary is. So of course we take care of the notary's location, but the signer could be anywhere. Doesn't matter what.
So I could be on a trip in Germany and have to notarize something for a contract in Alabama, and you could do that, right?
We've had someone on a flight actually. So yeah, you could be literally anywhere that has internet, whether you have cell phone service or internet, Wi-Fi, whatever it may be. As long as you have that connection, we can get it done.
So tell me some of the documents you notarize for like contractors and stuff.
Yeah, well, you said real estate before. In that situation, that's kind of opening up its own can. A lot of title documents in that regard, but notice of commencement and liens, affidavits, like I was saying, or
So if you need to file a lien or a lien release or anything like that, you can do that way?
Correct. Yeah. And blueprints that may need to get notarized. I mean, that's construction specific stuff. Obviously, we can notarize anything that a traditional notary can notarize. We also notarize. So it's kind of the same. It's the same thought process. There's no restrictions between the two of them.
Okay, so it's basically like having a notary in your office.
Exactly.
Or
Exactly.
you're in your car. Have a notary in your phone, right?
You have a
Literally.
notary in your phone at your fingertips. Exactly. Anytime you need them. And one of the things that we hear a lot is, one of the greatest benefits is, you don't have to schedule an appointment. If you live in a populated area, you might think, well, I have a notary that at my bank that's there on Tuesdays and Thursdays I can go visit. But a lot of
Right.
people don't live in that type of area. They have to take off work or drive 45 minutes into town to get this document notarized, and then hope that the notary's there or whatever the case may be. So with this, you can do it anywhere at any time. And if you're maybe if you're a site manager and you're not, maybe you're in the field and someone else in your business, in your company needs to get it notarized, and not necessarily you. We also have the ability you can control sessions. So if you wanted to create a session for one of your employees, for example, you could upload the document, you can pay for it, it's all under your account, and then you can say, you know what, I'm gonna have Josh notarize this document. So then you say, Josh, and you put my email in there, and then that will send him the session details. It'll send an email, hey, if Paul is asking for this to be notarized, click here and get started.
Do you ever notarize contracts like construction contracts with clients and that kind of thing?
Exactly. Yeah. On a consistent basis, pretty regular. That's one of the more common things that we get done.
So it'd be better if you have a contract with your client. It's better to have it notarized than not notarized, right?
Exactly. I mean, you got to think that if there's ever, especially when you get into higher value deals, you never want to, if this ever ends up in court, there's this auditability trail with our system that you don't get with a regular signature. So we store the video for 10 years, we store the document, their IP addresses, all that stuff gets stored for a
So
period of
let's
10
say I was having a contract with I can build, I don't know, $1 million house or something. And then all of a sudden the client doesn't want to pay or says I didn't say that or I didn't sign that or it's not my signature or it was my daughter and she agreed to it and I didn't agree to it, or pick up a bunch of circumstances where people want to sort of bail out or not pay because of lack of a trace or trackability of the document, then you can fix that, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. We've seen that exact scenario where we've been subpoenaed to supply information to prove that it was the person they said they were, that it was based on our identity proofing software, but also the fact that we have them on video, and that they weren't under duress, that there was no complications with the signing itself. They knew what they were signing. All that video gets stored for 10 years, and then and it's all auditable. If anybody ever needs to access that information that's related to the signing, by law we
You
have to
give me not giving names, obviously, but some example of some contractor that wasn't going to get paid by a client for building something and you helped them collect the money. Can you give me an example?
So actually, I think that the most recent scenario is probably the most dramatic in the sense that it was involving a divorcing couple. They were getting divorced and in the middle of building a new house, and they were trying to say,
sometimes building does cause the divorce, Josh, as you know.
I can imagine that. Yeah, it's can be a stressful situation,
Right.
but yeah, a lot of heavy decisions to make at a crucial time in a relationship. But yeah, this couple, they had just gotten married. I think I forget the details of when they were married, but I think they were a relatively new couple, and it went to court on who was responsible for having to pay this, for this house that they were, had signed up to build. And we don't know what happened with that. I just know that we got subpoenaed to supply that information. We don't obviously get access to the court. We weren't appearing before the judge, but I do know there was a dispute on who was paying for that house to be built. That it held up the construction of that house because they were concerned that they might not get payment because of that divorce. But we submitted everything that we had, and I think that I could tell by the by the question that we were getting, that the person that we were supplying the information to was very happy that we had it. That they were I think that they were going to be able to collect after all, because I think they were concerned that they might not be able to. But yeah, we submitted that, and hopefully it worked out for them. I imagine it probably.
Can you give me some examples of documents that a contractor might not have signed by a notary because it's such a pain in the butt, but they could have it done with you? Some typical documents that a contractor's going, well, I'm not going to mess with that. I'll just take a signature instead of having it done notarized.
Yeah, I mean, I think the number one thing, I mean, it's tough for me to say. I don't know all of the documents that contractors get signed that aren't notarized. I specialize in the notarized world, but I would say that an invoice, I would think, a large invoice that you're concerned about getting paid. If there's ever any question mark around that for any reason, whether it's because it's a large amount or because you're not totally sure that you can, trust this customer of yours, there's no disputing it if you're on video.
But I would say very few contractors get their original construction documents notarized, like the contracts. But that would probably be a good idea, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, certainly. Especially because, like I said, you can audit that information if you ever need it for any reason. And it's, if you're talking, these larger deals that that go along with construction jobs, depending on the pricing, let's say we give it to you for 23, or 22, we work out a deal. You're talking pennies in the grand scheme of things. And
no, I mean, guys have gotten screwed for like $100,000 all the time.
Exactly. And that's why real estate, it's important to make sure that it's getting done as well. And think of all the complications or the potential issues with notarizing documents in person. The real estate industry itself is flocking to using remote online notaries because of the fact that you can.
Well, I know, whenever time I bought a house or something, I realized every place I had to initial it was where somebody got sued, right?
Exactly.
So you got like 20 initial, somebody got sued for this, somebody got sued for this, somebody got sued for this, and you have to initial it like 15 times on each page and then acknowledge it again, because those all represented lawsuits one time or another, right?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And the interesting thing about with Ron is when they thought through Ron, they went overboard in a lot of ways, in the sense that they wanted to make sure that they took care of any potential concerns. And one of the ways that they did that was the actual technology itself that renders the document notarized. It's called PDK certificate information. It locks the document after it's notarized, to where if you try to tamper with this document, it becomes tamper evident. There's metadata in the actual document itself that says this has been notarized, the name, the information, all that stuff, what platform that you used. And then if you ever need to access that information, then you can see within it if it's been tampered with. Wow. We also have on our system, we do a QR code at the very last page. So if you ever paper out this document for whatever reason, there's always a digital form to it. So if you ever have a question mark around, well, this has now been papered out, it could have been altered in theory. You can always just scan that QR code and it'll take you right back to the digital document, which again has the audit trail and all that stuff. So you can prove to make sure that it is the correct information that you're looking at.
That's amazing. So I would suggest contractors, when in doubt, notarize, because I know a lot of people have not gotten paid for a lot of reasons, because especially when you're dealing with a client that has a lot more resources than you do. I mean, you're, a small contractor and they're a really rich dude and they've got all these attorneys and you don't. And lots of times they'll find a loophole. Well, this wasn't notarized, or I didn't sign that, or see me in court. I've had that happen. And they got more horsepower than you do in court and you're going to lose. I mean, they're showing up with a gun, you have a knife. You're always going to lose. So obviously this would give you a much better shot of getting paid when you get in those kinds of situations, right?
100%. And and you made a good point there. But when you get a document notarized, part of that process is the notary relays a statement to you, and part of that statement is, do you understand what you're signing? Which is an important key detail to all of this, because they can claim, hey, you gave me too much.
I didn't realize that it was going to cost this much money, right?
Correct, or whatever.
I didn't understand the contract. I didn't read the fine print.
Yeah.
or
And for
whatever.
some reason that works sometimes. But here, they explicitly ask you, do you know what you're signing? And they have to say yes to that. If they don't, they get kicked out of the session. They can't notarize the document.
So therefore they can't say, well, I didn't realize they had to pay for this, and that's another 50,000 that I didn't think I had to pay for, so I'm not going to pay. But you could go, if it's notarized, and go back into court and probably win.
Correct. Yeah. They ask, are you under duress? Are you of sound body and mind? All those things, I don't want to say it's impossible, but I can imagine it's very improbable.
In most cases, like, I was drunk when I signed it, or pick a number, right? Like,
correct. Yeah.
So, but I would say this is really good insurance against smaller contractors, especially against doing bigger deals with people that have way more resources than you do to fight it in court, right?
Oh, absolutely. And
Cool.
and if you're concerned about, I could imagine a situation where like you said, you're a small contractor. You don't want to make their final agreement a more complicated process, right? You want to get that deal going.
Want to get it signed, yeah.
Yeah. So I can see there being an issue around, well, I don't want to send them to a bank to get this notarized. That's not convenient. Who has time for that?
I don't want to meet you at the bank on Thursday at noon to get this thing done, right?
Yeah, who wants to do that, right? In this case, you can send them a link. Hey, if you want to sign this, just do me a favor, just click here and sign this. And they don't even have to know that, by the way, you're getting, as part of this process, this is getting notarized. You got to supply your ID and answer some security questions, and then you're going to enter a very high security, instrument that proves that you are who you say you are. So, but the process is the same, whether it's a DocuSign style signature or a NotaryLive session.
So this holds more weight than a DocuSign because it's actually notarized, right?
100%. 100%.
Cool.
It'd be very difficult to argue anything otherwise in a.
Well, this sounds great. So Joshua, if people want to get a hold of you, because I didn't even know about this until today, which is amazing. Where do they get a hold of you, and how do they use it, and what does it cost? Yeah, so you can always reach out to us anytime at our email at support@notarylive.com. We also have a phone number, 1-855-58-NOTARY. Or you can just visit our website and start using it. It's pretty self-explanatory. We actually, one of our, we had two industries that we focused on in the very beginning of building NotaryLive, and construction was one of them. The other was legal, and they're very similar in their use case and how they use us. So the website is tailored for construction in a lot of ways. So you probably don't have to reach out to us at all. You could probably just visit notarylive.com and get started. If you are a small volume, once or twice a month at most, you're looking at around $23 per session. And if you pay for the year, you get a discount. But if you pay every month, it's an $80 a month fee. We do volume discounts for the larger vendors. So the price starts around 25 to 23, and then it goes down from there. If you have additional signers, there's an additional $5 on top of that. But so you assume around $25 or so per. That sounds like a really cheap insurance to make sure you get paid.
100%. 100%. Yeah, that's a nice insurance policy for sure.
Well, thanks, Joshua. I appreciate you having here. And if you're a contractor listening to this, you should just go sign up, because I can't tell how many people I've dealt with that haven't gotten paid by clients or vendors or whatever because they haven't followed the right legal procedure. And this seems like a really inexpensive way to do it.
100%.
Thanks for being here, Joshua. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Have a good day.